I don't know why I did not have this movie on my calendar because I am like the biggest Stephen King fan. I've read almost every book, not saying I've read every book, but a lot of those books. And I cannot believe I did not mark this day this movie came out on my calendar, because any adaptation of Stephen King's books into a movie, I just gotta talk about. So Max's version of Salem's Lot, hence how I said Max's version of Salem's Lot, because there are actually 3 adaptations of Salem's Lot, which includes this one, which are all based off the Stephen King novel of the same name. And it pretty much follows the same story as all the other ones did, which, you know, Minmar returns to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot, only to later find out that the whole town are being turned into vampires. So, I mean, there's no really reason for me to go into the plot, because it pretty much follows the same story as the other 2 adaptations along with the book. This movie was kind of released under the radar, but I knew it was actually coming out. I heard about this movie like back in 2021 when they announced that the director was going to be Gary Dauberman, and I was all for that because Gary Dauberman wrote both It and It Chapter 2. So, I mean, he's already written a couple of, you know, good horror movies, so I was like, I can live with him being the director. So yeah, sure, why not? I don't know why it took 3 years to get the movie out. Maybe it's just because it wasn't all that great. I mean, right now we're pretty much in like the remake era, where people are remaking a lot of classic movies, and sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're just horrible. But I mean, there are a lot of Stephen King remakes that have been done recently. I mean, let's see, we have Carrie, we have It Chapter 2, Pet Sematary, Firestarter. There was a Children of the Corn that was also released under the radar in 2020. And now we have Salem's Lot. So 7 remakes in total when it comes to Stephen King. And really only 2 of them right there, both It and It Chapter 2, are the ones that I can say are decent. All the other ones are just bad. This movie is essentially bad mainly because it was made into a full-length feature film. The other 2 adaptations were mini-series. They were 2 episodes each, and they each kind of followed a good bit of information from the story and actually gave us a little bit more development and tension, which is really what, you know, Salem's Lot draws off of. This one, you know, being a full-length feature film, doesn't really have any of that. If you're a fan of the original Salem's Lot and you watch this movie, you'll notice that there are a lot of things in here that were cut out. And because of these cutouts, there was like no room for like any sort of character development whatsoever for any of our main characters, or any kind of tension buildup of that nature, which kind of like spoils the fun what Salem's Lot is. This whole movie was pretty much old-fashioned vampire lore. I'm not complaining about the old-fashioned vampire lore, though. I actually quite enjoyed it. It's what kept me entertained. It's nice to have, you know, a new age vampire movie following that old-fashioned vampire style that we got from the 70s and 80s. So, I mean, that was pretty awesome there to get, you know, that throwback in there. Even so, there were a lot of things in here that kind of ruined the concept of it. You know, the overuse of CGI on the vampires, which, you know, showing like their eyes glowing and, you know, showing the key scenes like the kid outside the window. And I mean, it's like this ruins the scare factor. They look more like ghosts here, whereas in the original one, they look like scary ass looking vampires, which actually builds up the tension as to what's going to happen. There is not really that building tension in this movie. This would be a good movie for anyone new to Stephen King's world to, you know, kind of slowly be introduced to it, because out of remakes, this is one that's like not horrible, but it's not good. It's just a little bit above the line where we would go for average. But if you are a diehard, really big fan of Stephen King, this is one of those movies you're going to just watch and be like, I'm done with this. I'll just stick to the original, which is what I'm going to do from now on, and just stick to the original Salem's Lot. Overall, this is just another movie remake of a Stephen King classic that falls flat. I'm only giving Max's version of Salem's Lot a C here. Sorry, not all that good. All right, well, that just about wraps up this review. If you guys have seen Salem's Lot on Max, please comment here down below what your thoughts were on it. Also, if you like my other videos, you can check out here more on my channel. And always remember to stay epic.